Congratulations, Lil. I went around and stuff. I know it's a big deal.
So.
All right, our two-time NASCAR Sprint Cup Series champion, Tony Stewart, joins us. Tony, this track likes you. You like this track. Big weekend?
Yeah, I always like coming up here. This is a place where, before I ever won anything, we missed in an IndyCar with, I think, 18 laps to go. We had a 2 3/4 lap lead in my first IRL race here, but it's all been uphill from there. And we've had some good races here, bad races here, but it's a place that we've always enjoyed.
Excellent questions for Tony. I want to thank those of you in the back of the room for keeping the noise down. We appreciate that. Let's go let's go Lee and then Tom.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. Danica's at the bottom of the speed chart. Can you just talk, making that transition, since you know it so well? You know, she was in an IndyCar and then over here. How tough is that for those of us that just have no inkling?
It's opposite ends of the spectrum. You go from a car that's got a ton of grip and a real flat platform as far as how the car just kind of sits on the track, and it really does. You don't feel a lot of movement in it. To a heavier car that moves around a little more and obviously has a lot less downforce. So it's a big transition here. It's quite a bit different, and this will be a challenging weekend.
Tom and then Chuck.
Tom Bowles, SIMFrontstretch.com. Jeff was in here this morning. Said the racing last week was...
You're kidding me. Jeff was in here?
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Oh
he had to
God.
do like media availability or something.
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that. But he said the racing was horrendous last week. What was your take?
I agree.
Any particular reason why this is going on? I mean, why do you...
I have no idea, trust me, because I sat there wondering the exact same thing the whole race. It was berserk. It was like open season.
Does somebody need to stand up? I know in the past we've seen, like, at Rusty a long time ago, stand up and just kind of tell everybody, does somebody need to stand up and be a leader at the driver's meeting and say, this is unacceptable, guys, you guys got to calm down?
It's a little late now. I mean, we're a week past it already, so I don't know. I don't know what the reason was. I don't know if there was something in the air last week or what, but it was absolute out of control. So, the good thing is we're out of that environment and we're back to an environment where you won't see that this weekend.
Chuck.
Chuck Howard, NASCAR Media Group. Tony, Mark was in here earlier, and
wow.
I asked him about his original thoughts about when NASCAR went to the Brickyard. He said his original thoughts were he didn't think it would work. He's obviously changed his mind since then. Did you have those initial thoughts as well, and has it become bigger and better than you thought it could ever be?
I'll be honest. When I first heard about the test that was going to happen there, I was against it, and I've always said that on that day, I was a guy that had grown up in Indiana. I remember the month of May literally being a full month of May in Indianapolis, and I was against it. But after seeing the test session there and after seeing the first race there, it was like, wow, this really does work, and it really does belong there. I was against it because I thought the Indy 500 was the only thing that deserved to be at the Indy 500 and at the Brickyard. But as time has gone on, I mean, obviously after what we saw with the success of the Brickyard 400, when Formula One came in, I thought it was a great idea. I mean, you realize that you got this great facility, and to be able to bring the major forms of racing into one facility like that was a pretty cool deal.
What else for Tony? Dustin?
Dustin Long, Landmark Newspapers. Tony, talking about the driving, I know you said last week was maybe just that incident, but are you seeing a steady erosion of respect on the track since the beginning of this year, or a longer period of time, or is just last week just one of those weekends?
I don't know that it's a lack of respect as much as it's just such a lack of patience. Just there's a phrase we use all the time, give and take, and there's a lot more taking anymore than there is giving amongst the drivers, and it's not due to respect. Everybody respects each other out there. It's just there's a lack of the equation's out of balance right now between give and take. There's like I say, there's just a lot more taken than there is given.
And that's something you've seen. I know you made some comments after Pocono.
Yeah, it's getting worse. It's probably going to get worse before it gets better too. It looks like.
Mike Harris.
Mike Harris, RacingToday.com. Tony, somebody was in earlier and made the comment.
I have no doubt that somebody was in earlier. I have a feeling before the day's over, everybody's going to have been in here.
Well, let me
at some
put it
point.
this way. Somebody made a comment that part of the reason for what we're seeing as far as some of the rough driving and so forth is that the younger drivers, the 25-year-olds, this is the way they know how to race at this point. And the older guys came up at a different time, had a different way of looking at racing, and maybe had less opportunity if they wrecked a bunch of cars. How do you feel about that?
Well, that and they, younger guys coming in aren't accustomed to running 500-mile races, or 500-lap races, and realizing that you have to be patient and you have to have respect for each other. It's something that it was always self-policing, but guys, we in this area, we've lost some great race car drivers, and nobody really wants to have to self-police it on the racetrack like we used to. I mean, if you did something wrong to somebody, they waited. It may have been 5, 6, 10 weeks down the road, but somewhere along the line you got paid back and you got wrecked. And while you're sitting there wrecked and going, "Why did I get put here?" It makes you think about, well, maybe it's because of something I did earlier. So you just don't see as much of that as you used to, and that's the way it used to fix itself. And in my opinion, that's what it needs to get back to again.
Marty and then Lee again.
Marty Smith, ESPN. I know this changes for drivers different amount of wins and whatnot at this point, but in terms of the chase mindset, at what point does the ratio kind of shift between focusing on winning and having to save points and not be over aggressive?
I think if you're in the top 3 or 4 guys right now, that's all you're worrying about, is getting wins. I mean, you have that cushion with enough points to not have to worry about not making the chase. So it's a matter of just getting the wins. If you're in 9th through 12th right now, you're worrying about just making sure you have enough points to be in it, and then going from there. So it just depends on where you're at in the standings right now.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. 2 things. Getting in the chase, is those the top 15 guys, is there over-aggression because of they're trying to get in and the pressure of that? Secondly, with the younger guys, the car is so safe. Is there a false sense of security that you guys remember what it was like to hit concrete walls and probably they don't?
I honestly don't know that that's the case. I mean, because they didn't have softer walls in the tracks they came up from, so you still could hit hard. But I just think it's just the style of racing that most of the younger guys are accustomed to. I mean, that's the style of racing I was accustomed to when I came here too. But you learn from the veterans real quick. That's not how we race here, and it's some of the veterans and even some of the younger guys that have already figured it out need to take the bull by the horns and remind these guys that this is not how we race.
Anything else for Tony? No? Thank you. Good
Thanks,
luck
guys.
this weekend.
Thank you.